Good afternoon. This is Mr. Cranier. We are going to do a little review on angle relationships. The first question here is you want to find the measure of angle 1 and the measure of angle 2. And you know that measure of angle 1 and angle 2 are supplementary. Measure of angle 1 is 8x plus 18. And measure of angle 2 is 16x minus 6. Kind of the strategy here is how can we set up these two measures of these angles where they're supplementary. One, you need to know that supplementary angles are 180, so you want to set this up accordingly. 8x plus 18 plus 16x minus 6 equals to 180. You want to solve for your x and then you want to plug in, or you want to substitute the values into measure angle 1 and 2. For the second one here, we want to find the measure of the smaller angle, given the measures of two complementary angles are x plus 54 and 2x. Alright, today's lesson entails parallel lines and transversals. We're going to go ahead and take care of mathematical practices 1 and 3, which 1 mentions make sense of problems and persevering in solving them. And number 3 is you want to construct valuable arguments and critique the reasoning of others. The standards is GCO1, which represents you're going to know precise definitions of parallel lines and transversals, and GCO9, you're going to prove these theorems. Okay, the last lesson we mentioned was on angle relationships. We also talked about segment relationships. Today we're going to talk about the angle pairs that are formed by lines and transversals. And we're going to use theorems to determine the relationships between specific pairs of angles. Alright, there's a lot of vocabulary in this particular lesson. You have transversals, interior, exterior angles, consecutive interior, alternate exterior, you have corresponding, and you have parallel lines. Alright, so some of the definitions are as follows. You have the interior angles in green, all the inside angles 4, 3, 5, and 6. You also have the exterior angles, which are on the outside of these two lines, Q and R, 1, 2, 8, and 7. You have a relationship between angles 4 and 5, which represents your consecutive inside. You have a relationship between angles 3 and 6 are also consecutive inside angles or interior angles. You have a concept here called the alternate interior angles, which you have 4 and 6. They alternate each other and they're on the inside. You have 5 and 3. They are also alternate interior. You have, in this next term here, alternate exterior angles. We have angles that are on the outside. They alternate each other. And we have 8 and 2, which is another alternate exterior. 1 and 7, 2 and 8 are alternate exterior. And then you have the relationship in angles 1 and 5, which are your corresponding, 2 and 6 are corresponding, 4 and 8 are corresponding angles, 3 and 7 are corresponding. Okay, let's look at the angle pair relationships between 2 and 6. Notice the location, 2 and 6, they both correspond. For example, 1, let it be, what's the relationship between angle 1 and angle 7? You have some choices there. Angle 1 and angle 7 are on the exterior and they are alternate. So alternate exterior angles. What's the relationship between 3 and 8? Notice that they're on the inside. And they're on the same side, which they're consecutive interior angles. And the last example for 1 is what's the relationship between 3 and 5? They are on the inside. They're alternate interior angles. Now you're going to have a chance to work on the guided practice on your own. Tell me the relationship between 4 and 5, the relationship between 7 and 9, the relationship between 4 and 7, and the relationship between 2 and 11. All right, good luck. We look forward to seeing your answers. Now let's continue our lesson. Here's a key concept on parallel lines. Parallel lines, as you know, do not intersect. They never will intersect. These arrows in red represent parallel lines. Again, they will never intersect. Key concept is corresponding angles. Now, if you have two parallel lines, the corresponding angles will always be congruent. Again, they have to be parallel lines, and the corresponding angles will be congruent. Let's take a look at example 2. Locate angle 11, locate angle 15. 1, describe their relationship. So 11 and 15 over in the top right, and in this case it's in the top right at the bottom end. They both correspond, therefore both of these angles will be exactly the same measurement, which will be 51. For letter B, again, locate angle 11, locate angle 16. Notice the relationship between 16 and 15. They are both the same angle because they are vertical. And you know the relationship between 11 and 15, they correspond. So we can safely say that angle 11 will be exactly the same as 16, which the angle will be 51. All right, again, you have an opportunity to work on the guided practice. Remember, read the instructions here and figure out what measure of angle 22 is, and given lines A and B are the same. All right, again, another guided practice. A and B are parallel. 18 is 42. Figure out what the measure of angle 25 is. All right, so you have proof on alternate interior angles. You can read this, pause the video, take this in, this paragraph proof. We're not going to prove the alternate interior angles at this point. All right, so you have 3 theorems here that are really key. Make sure you remember these. Alternate interior angles, angles that are on the inside and the lines are parallel, they have to be congruent. Consecutive interior angles are going to equal 180, and alternate exterior angles will be congruent. So example 3, we're going to use some theorems about parallel lines. Measure of angle 2 is 125. What is the measure of angle 3? And again, the relationship between 2 and 3 is that they're alternate interior angles. They have to be the same measurement. So angle 2 is 125. Angle 3 has to be 125. Again, let's work out measure of angle 2 and measure of angle 4. Make sure you know the relationship between angle 2 and 4. And let's go to example 4. Figure out the measurement of x. But in this case, locate and identify the relationship between angle 5 and 7. In this case, lines are parallel. It's cut by the transversals, so angle 5 and 7 should be equal because of corresponding angles. Substitute angle 5 and angle 7. 2x minus 10 equals x plus 15. Solve for x. You get the reasoning because it's corresponding. And then you have an opportunity to solve for x, locating the relationships here. Same thing here. You're going to try to figure out what y equals. Make sure you understand the relationships between 1 and 2 and 2 and 3. And the last definition here is we have the perpendicular transversal. Remember, perpendicular is where the two lines intersect and form a right angle. So if the lines A and B are parallel, and line A and line B are perpendicular to each other. Right? Thank you very much for watching this video. I encourage you guys to rewatch it. Take your time, pause, take care of the questions that are embedded in this lesson. And in class, I will upload the skills practice with the skills answer key. And in class, we'll have a work session, and then we will go over practice and the skills in class. So I look forward to seeing you guys. Good night.